Luke chapter 22, verse 31 and 32 reads, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, that your faith may not fail. When thou art converted, strengthen thine brethren." And so this is a scenario that we know so well, just prior to Christ's betrayal. And Peter, having been found with Christ so closely, was a potential threat to Satan. And we see an event that we scarcely digest so much and analyze behind the scenes of what was happening. And here we see this young man, Peter, who we knew originally by the name of Simon. And with emphasis, we see the Lord almost shouting, saying, "Simon, Simon." We know so well that when somebody is called with emphasis, it means there's something serious about to be said. He said, "Satan has asked for you." Some versions like this one say, "Satan has desired to have you." So if I were to ask you one simple question of the key things that take you aback, that you fear so much, most of you would say failure. And we want to learn from one's fall in motivating us to moving ahead. And this failure may not specifically be academic, it may be spiritual, it may be financial, it may be a failure that we could learn from and get encouragement from this ordeal that happened to Simon. And so we know, if we're to analyze this character of Peter, we know him as one who was close with the Lord, one, I could supposedly say, a favorite, one who showed a certain kind of leadership and potential that could be unveiled in future. For those of you who've read about Simon, he's one later on who could walk and his shadow could heal masses. And because the devil was able to know this potential, Simon was desired. And so it gives us confidence that when we face trials in our lives, and when the devil desires of us, it means there's something characteristic about us. It is one thing to pass through trials and another not to. True Christian inevitably will have to experience such invitations to Lucifer or Satan's body. And so what I'm trying to say is it was inevitable for Peter to be called for because he had potential. And so certain of us get to complain time and again why things are happening this way. It is simple. When we are a threat, not only to Satan, our neighbors and friends, we hear people talk a lot because of what God has imbued in you. And so because of this, Simon Peter was desired. And so Christ says, "Simon," I could imagine his tone, "Simon, Satan has desired you." Friends, we are living in a life where our lives, because of our potential, either at work, potential in our spiritual realms, the devil will always desire of us. It says, "Satan has desired you, that he may sift you as wheat." And Christ often uses certain allegories, certain examples to suit a lifestyle that pertained at a particular moment. So in those days, they used to separate wheat from its chaff using a process called sifting. And sifting in the Christian realm is actually attached to a process of passing through trials. And so we are told that, in simple words, Satan has asked that he may put you on a trial. And now, this gives us confidence that before Satan is allowed to touch us, he has to be allowed by Christ, by God, by the Trinity. And so, even in his divinity, God will only permit Satan to touch us or touch our lives when he knows we have the capability, when he knows that we have passed through his training. And so he says, Satan has asked that he may sift you, Simon. But this is an amazing article which contrasts the beginning. It's an amazing but. Usually when somebody tells you a story and later on tells you but, it often comes in a negative way. But when somebody starts with a negative statement and rebuts it with a but, it means something good is yet to happen. It says, Simon, the devil has asked for you. Simon, the devil wants to try you. Simon, the devil is after you, but I have prayed for you. Now, this praying is not in continuous, not in future, but it's in past tense, teaching us intercession, that we need to learn how to pray for people ahead of calamity, ahead of their fall. And so he says, I know there's something yet to come. Not that you will fall, but I have taken to the knees to praying for you. And intercession, beloved friends, is more important when we take to our knees for those that we love way before their failure, rather than after a calamity has befallen them. We could save a number of souls, a number of failures that have come before either our family members, ourselves, and those with the potential to falling if we took to the knees to praying ahead of time. It is called intercession. Most of us only get to the knees to praying for others after a problem has befallen them, or peradventure when they have sought for a prayer request. It is more, let me not say recommended, but it's more Christian to taking time to praying for others ahead of failure. And if there's one institution that is under attack, mainly it is that of the marriage institution. Most of things that are happening in our homes are very, very discouraging. And so if we could take, besides our school, to praying for marriages of your classmates, of your friends, of your relatives, even when they're doing fine the most, you see them being happy, just know that they are what? They're candidates for enrollment for the devil, because he's full of jealous. He's one who wants things to move the other way. And so whenever we see good things, that's when we need to pray for such people, that may the goodness that happens in their lives continue, even for a foreseeable future. Not when we see things going down. It means we did not do something that could have kept them afloat. And so it says, Simon, I have prayed for you. And this is very encouraging, because it also applies to us, that Christ is praying for us ahead of time, and is praying even before you write your exams, praying ahead of time that each one of you should clear, not when he sees that your CAs are bad. It is more vital that we get to pray for one another, your study mates, your friends, even before you have your first CA, because it's going to get tough later on, when some of you may actually think of not writing or going the other direction, because now that you've seen that things have gone bad. Even in situations when you are in your marriage, in the businesses are going fine, pray so harder, because that is when you become enrolled candidates for Satan. We have a lot of testimonies that we can share amidst ourselves. Death amongst many of these that we have. When we are so much drowned in them, that's when we think of praying so much. And these things have destroyed a lot of families, and we need to pray beyond academics. So it says, I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And all these things are surrounding our faith. It may touch our family, our debt, our finance, our health. Everything that is at stake is about faith. It is in Revelation where it says, regardless of whatever happens around us, take hold of your faith, because this is your gold and this is your ticket to heaven. And I'm interested in the latter part when it says when you are converted, not if. This is condition, not conditional probability. It says when. It's a kind of probability that has certainty in it. It says, I know you will fall somewhere, somehow, but when you get back, giving hope that we may pass through trials, but there's the end of the chapter that we have not yet read, which has given us hope to say he has fought our battle. And he says, when you are out of it, when you have overcome, he says, when you are converted. Perhaps it also gives us a signal that even for 3.5 years, this so-called Simon Peter was not converted at all. He says, I know you may linger around me, but I know your heart is very far from me. But Simon, when you really get the message from me, when you are converted, I have one mission for you, Simon: strengthen your brothers. And this is one thing that we so much forget to do, most of us, even in the Christian direct life, spending time to hearing our friends and issues that they are going through and encouraging them and strengthening them. And we scarcely have time for our friends. Why? Because we're busy here and there about academics, busy about wealth accumulation, and we are not converted. That's the bottom line. This instruction is only for those who have heard the message and are converted to the very extent that they will take to their knees. Time to even spending with those people that are discouraged, that are low. He says, when you're converted, inevitably the Spirit will speak to you. You will not sit down, but it will come and you will take to your feet, encouraging the others. And this is one thing that I always get to speak about. Like I was saying today earlier on, you are almost the 30th intake I'm taking because of the semesters you have. And I've had a number of clients who have almost given up, especially in this course. And I have seen a number of late who've been so vibrant, and you could even see them in your groups who will encourage you and tell you, say, we know how this course is. We know where to touch now because their past experiences have taught them they could have started better. And peradventure, they will also advise you to say, never rely on your past glory or past confidence or past degrees you've gotten elsewhere. And I've always emphasized, especially for you students, that you never rely on your own intelligence, never rely on your past victories, but always combine academic excellence with spiritual excellence. This is the key that will qualify you to gaining more, not only in this course, but other courses as well. So create time for your books, more so even for scripture. Thank you so much for your time.